Yeah. There you go. Microphone working. New microphone. I threw the other one in the river. Let me type this. Masters golf brain. Masters golf brain. Do our best. Fast. Getting up at 4 a.m. for the last 4 days kills you. Trying to watch golf and do everything else. Boom, boom, boom. Royale Randwick. Let's check and see if they've got all the stuff through. Any chance Gap being used as pacemaker at Randwick going forward? Probably over 400 metres or less. Downwind. He tried to choke. He choked his balls off. He choked his balls off, but he kept finding, and then he'd choke again. Then he'd, oh my God. That was, I've watched a lot of golf in my life. That was the most incredible winning round of golf I think I've ever seen. Position worth looking at, easily available, or in general race vision enough? It's definitely worth looking at, absolutely, because especially the start. It depends on the angle that you get, but Stewart's vision is very different, as in, like obviously angles, things you definitely pick things up you miss. I'm not diligent enough to watch it all, but it's very good, especially if you think something's fishy or you want to double check something, but definitely starts of races. A lot of the gates don't open the same in country provincial New South Wales. There's a lot of weird things going on, so it's worth looking. Kick not working. Looks all right. Looks all right. Slow punter. Hang on, did we get these? No, same. Yeah, so we got these weird random walking sections, fast sections. The times down the straight were fast. Tracks overall look like they're somewhere between a 4 and a 5, but we got, Sydney Cup track records. I think a few people are hung up on there not being a lot of sort of times to compare to over that distance over the period of time. It's true, but what can you do? You can only work with what you've got, and the time is very fast. Obviously, being a track record that was, I think, 30 years old or something like that. So, difficult to work out a lot of these race qualities because there were such extreme fluctuations from the front half to the back half, whether that be fast to slow or slow to fast. So, yeah, weird day, but I don't think there are any significant bias. Definitely look like you need to be about 5 or 6 off in the straight, ideally. Hard fence looked like it might have been a bit of a disadvantage for sure. Chris I can never catch him in the stable when it's hot or cold. Yeah, I think he's the hardest, James. I think he's the hardest, but I struggle to take short prices in, but like a horse like Infancy, you've just got to treat it on its merits. It's trialled really well. Actually, interesting, a horse that came out of the trial won today. It's going to, which was tricky because it was in a 1,000-meter race. But he's stable. I struggle to find him at short prices, absolutely, especially in Sydney. And fresh is best. I sort of find that they're tricky to follow during their prep. Yeah, I don't understand why we don't have HD vision now. No clue. Anyway, let's get into it. Actually starting to feel a little bit better. Had to produce pre-workout to get through a review of Randwick. I haven't had a good look at this meeting, so anything I miss, please don't be afraid to yell out. If I make any mistakes, let me know, because I haven't had a good, hard look at this meeting. Polish play girl race keenly, blah, blah, blah. All right, so first race, they absolutely walk. They slow down from the 8 to the 6, even though they've gone 12 lengths below to the 800, and that's how big a joke this race was. Leaders stayed on the inside in the last. Yeah, the last was a bit of a weird race. So, yeah, the start was all important here. I actually thought that... I thought it was a Johnny Sargent's horse, or was what was it? Yeah, Johnny Sargent's horse would go to the front. The 1,000-metre, 1,100-metre form. Obviously, they went out with a plan with the Spicy Ludo to head forward. I don't know why Polish Playgirl didn't go forward. It certainly looked a horse that was going to need to build momentum. There was never any tempo in this race, so it was the horse that I thought completely missed the boat. Michelangelo does get squeezed out a bit, so a bit of an excuse for it, but still never got going at any stage. Did get stuck in an awkward spot. But yeah, this was the horse I thought completely missed the boat, not having a shot at the title, and even was it Collared on Tupacara, wasn't it? Just completely fell asleep in the run. Great ride, Stephen. Great ride. She definitely could have easily fallen into the trap of settling too close, and she didn't. The horse obviously went like a rocket, but she gave it its chance. So, yeah, they're just completely running cover here. I don't understand why he reverse parked Polish Playgirl so heavily. They obviously went out there with the plan that they were going to run the mile stronger than the ones up in front, but when you go this slow, it doesn't really matter. It's not really a test, it's basically track work. It's basically like a standing start 800-metre race or something, it's not race speed. So yeah, like these two out the back are just dead set kidding themselves. At least Garrick's just had a crack at trying to get a little bit closer in the run. These two, have done nothing. Just said, and even Collett, that slowdown from the 8 to 6 is even more embarrassing. He should have slid forward, even though he's in a slightly awkward spot because Shin sort of puts him there. He should have slid forward on Tupacara, and these two are just not in the race. So, good luck to the connections of the winner. It's quite funny. It was $10 in a maiden at Cowra and well backed, first up against absolute camels, and here it is winning a Fernhill 2 starts later. What will happen with this form, I'm not really sure. As you can see, sort of Polish Playgirl only gets wound up the last 50 metres. Michelangelo did a good job looking at sectionals, and the day, as I said, was quite ridiculous. Michelangelo's run the third fastest 6 to the 4 and second fastest 6 to the 2 of the day. So, and it's got beaten 3.5 lengths. That shows 4 lengths. That shows how much of a joke it was and how big an impossible task it was set. So, yeah, the race is just a real joke. I wouldn't be treating the form with too much respect or disrespect. I'd probably be just treating it as a build-up run, if that makes sense. I don't really know what to do with the form. Is it poor form? It's impossible to say because they went so slow. It was such a joke. The winner's not it is a flattered performance, but how much? It's not, it's still run the 8 fastest last 200 of the day. It ran the fastest last 200 of the race. That's enough to sort of let it off. Could Polish Playgirl bounce back over, a mile next start and do something? Absolutely. And it's got beaten 6.5 lengths. Yeah, working for me too. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I don't think there's a broadsiding in this race. I agree with you. It was a very, very average addition, but what do you do with the race? I think the answer is a pineapple completely. I honestly don't know what to do with it, but good luck to Connections. About all I can say there. South Pacific's far more, they run at a slightly below average tempo, but as you said, the fast late sections, you'd nearly call this sort of an even tempo probably on the day. Straight definitely looked like it was playing pretty quick. Vicestein, the only one that came home below par on the whole day, and they came off a 12 length above. So, pretty even tempo is probably what I'd call this. Sergeant Major was coming out of a strong race, was coming out of that Autumn Glow race where it had its chance there. It was in the right part, but this certainly was a little bit easier. The positive ride was very beneficial. I don't understand the tactics on, and I sound harsh. Why they would leave the apprentice on this horse, Meridiana, I don't know. I know they're very loyal to Molly Burke, and it sounds harsh, but I just don't know why they don't go with seniors in these situations. Loyalty, whatever, good luck to them. You can't, it's their decision. They pay the bills. But I think this run was pretty good. Don't really understand taking this horse well back. It certainly looked like it has a really nice turn of foot and has that sort of enough gate speed to hold position. So I don't know why they rode this horse so negatively. No strings attached was okay. In ejection, much better. It did sort of show signs, I thought, last start that it was ready to do something in ejection. That's it. It hit missing the kick and sort of getting forced back. It did look ready to do something. More Jude looked like it was ready to fall off a cliff, which it did. So not too many surprises here. I thought they might be more positive with Alabama State, and they weren't. Sort of got stuck in no man's land and then looked to reverse park. Bit of a frustrating horse now. Yeah, this is the horse that I'd like to own out of the race, Meridiana. Poor old Yoshinobu stuck out in no man's land. Just looks like it needs a complete reset. I'd expect this horse, Fearless, will probably be gelded soon and end up on Inglis. Pleasure Artist from memory gives a bit of a forgive. Who gets suspended here? Shin gets suspended, does he, for knocking over Kanara? So Shin got suspended for that. Pleasure Artist gets knocked out of the race. Meridiana kind of got knocked over at that point, but it had to make that sort of long, wide run from back. I actually think its run was great. It just peaked on it. Looks like it's got that really sharp sprint, which, that first start in a race really suited it. And then we saw it again here. It trialled a little bit the same, sort of has that sharp turn of foot and then sort of one bats. Whether it can get up over further and show the same turn of speed will be interesting, because if this horse can sort of settle a little bit closer, travel and show that sort of acceleration off it'll be a dangerous horse. Certainly just peaked there late. Yeah, and ejection was good. No strings attached, no knock. Well, Sergeant Major given its chance, very solid win. Duck Egg Blue was okay, back towards the inside in the wrong ground. I think it probably needs to drop back in grade a little bit, but can pick up a race straight away for sure. It's got another horse with a nice turn of foot. I think this is a good little feeder race that, most of these horses are going okay and even could duck up to Brisbane and be dangerous. So I think this is a decent enough feeder race. I heard them talking sort of Stradbroke for the winner. I think that's a little bit far-fetched potentially, probably aiming a little bit high, but, maybe a 3-year-old race up there, it can certainly progress to for sure. Yeah, Shin kind of just got stuck in that awkward spot, didn't he? And then I agree, he sort of got dictated to, whereas he's in the spot here that he should be rolling around them or whatever. He sort of just got forced stuck in there, and then Yoshinobu comes around and it just got ugly from there. So yeah, I agree, that sort of mid-race anchor droppy yuck played in the hands of the leader this time, which it rarely does. Let's have a closer look at Pleasure Artist. I actually like this horse, Pleasure Artist. I think he's got a bit of depth to him, so he's just a complete forgive, isn't he? He loves poking his head into tight gaps. You'd think he'd just win a Midway, wouldn't you? Old duck egg, for sure. Canara's a weird horse, James. I think it's a weird horse, a bit of a suck. I think it's definitely a horse as time goes on that you're better off letting it beat you, and it'll always be in the market. It did have excuses there, obviously, but I don't think it's much good. I think when everything falls its way, it sort of comes late and it's dangerous, but it's not got qualities like early speed or enough turn of foot or enough anything to be sort of dominant in too many races unless it found, the weakest race of all time. It's definitely one of those horses that needs a lot to go its way, as does Interjection, to be fair, but a little bit better quality. And, geez, it really hits the line nice late there. But, yeah, if I could find a horse, if I could pick one to take home out of that race, personally, it'd be Meridiana. Midway, this race was over a long way out. Yeah, I thought there might be a little bit bigger of a tussle for the lead. They do roll along even sort of tempo and then come home really sharp, making it a slow tempo. So they run at sort of an even speed, and then they build off that. So the times are very good. And, no fluke, the top two were definitely the best horses in the race, arguably. I thought Rapt would probably go a little bit better than it did, but the tempo was a little bit against it, and he definitely wasn't at his best. Rapt, he sort of ran okay, but needed a stronger tempo. I was looking for Further Now, which was always a little bit of an issue, but I honestly thought that this race would be run sort of negative sections. I thought they'd be coming home a lot slower than they were, and as it sort of landed, the speed was perfect for the two trailers who run 1-2 here, Machalate and Lord of Biscay. I think it started close to evens, didn't it? Or 220 or something? On the tote, this Lord of Biscay on the old world tote. They found their spots really quickly. And, 1, 2, so the winners 1 out, 1 back. Second horse 1 out, 2 back. And the third horse is the 3 back the rail. Fourth horse is Magneteer. Fifth horse is Vintage Choice. So the first 5, 6 in the run have run top 6. So usually a good sign that they've rated themselves really well. And as I said, so they've run fast time. So they're basically set near on impossible task for those out the back. Fine Words runs closest up, and Rapt, who sort of back in that awkward spot, was in a lot of trouble in that position. This is a bit of a grand final race. Maybe a couple of these will head up to Brisbane, maybe, but this is pretty much what these horses were set for. I don't think this form will be carrying too many places. Maybe Well Times earlier in its prep. He's a bit of a forgive run down the outside here. Funny teams definitely come on a lot this prep. It's a complete forgive, back and wide, never sort of got into the right spot. I hate this horse with a passion impotent. I've probably lost more money on this horse than any horse in training. He drives me mad. He goes like a bomb fresh. They always put him in the wrong race. He was talking about Lee's horses before, and then he went like a rocket last start and wins at 30s, and then sort of backs it up here in the final that he should have been winning a couple of races earlier in his prep, but they've obviously got him right, or her right. Bit of a punish of a creature, old Impercent. Yeah, I don't think there's much to learn there. They all sort of ran to their form, kinda, and the right horses landed in the right spots. Fine Words will probably head up to Brisbane. It'd be dangerous if it found the right race on a wet track. Can hold a spot. Has been really solid at both. I think that was only second up. So it's probably a horse that can head to Brisbane. Wrapped can head to Brisbane and run okay in a mile race or something like that now. 1800-metre race. Lord of Biscay's Big Dance qualified. What about Gay qualifying that horse the other day? What was it called? Castellino or something? How far is the Big Dance? 1400, isn't it? Is it a mile? Half of these horses are 2,000-metre plus horses. Crazy. I should know how far the Big Dance is, but I'm blaming Master's brain. Dead Set had it for 5 days. It's worth it. Well Timed was third up. It qualified first up. Then it had whatever that was last start. I think it might have had a trial in between. It was third up. But I think the whole prep is a bit of a nightmare for Well Timed. I think they butchered it a bit, maybe because they had to. That's the way a lot of this qualifying and getting in these races works. So these weird preps trying to get the horse to the qualifier and then get it to the race is just ridiculous. So I'm a little bit worried that Well Timed needs a reset, and I think it's probably a better 1,200-metre horse, 1,400 tops. So I think the 1,400 first up probably destroyed its whole prep. Royal Sovereign, this was a really slow speed, and this was another one where they just let the leaders alone and just completely they dominated. So they had full control to the 800, 5 lengths below. Come to get to the 8 to the 6s, they drop another sort of 3 or 4 lengths. So they just had complete control. I was a little bit worried that they might go back on Enriched. It was definitely the horse to beat if it went forward. Another horse that came out of that Autumn Glow race. So no rocket science to work out that race is a good feeder race. Autumn Glow, Enriched has come out and won. Granny Gangster hasn't won. Sergeant Major's already come out and won. Flying for Fun probably was a certainty beat, and everything went wrong that could go wrong. So it's a shame that Autumn Glow wasn't here. I think she probably would have lapped them, but it was quite interesting. The horse that sort of ran second to her there, still SP quite solidly here. I think they bet $556 with her out. So easy in hindsight. Who else was in that race? Fearless, Alabama State, Oshinobu. They all sort of ran on Saturday. But yeah, it's no surprise to see that was a good feeder race. A shame she wasn't in this race. And it was a bit of a non-event. They backed Big Swinger, like there was no settling. Probably expected him to be ridden more forward, given that. But I haven't had a look to see whether he could have held a spot or not. And he was probably the best of the run-ons. Yeah, so he misses the kick. So that's him completely out of play, basically. Sorry, I'm just going to bring the field up so I know what I'm talking about somewhat. Yeah, so another Björn Baker success story, this horse Imperial Force. I think he paid a bit of money for it. And I think they were very, sort of concerned about a few things about this horse, but he's turned him around. I think he's won twice this prep, and then, now a group, whatever this was, placing. He's just too good, Björn. Strange prep. I thought this horse, Public Attention, looked like it was looking for 2,000 metres before it went to New Zealand, and they bring it back here to 1,200. Very strange placement of Private Life. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see much more of him. He could be going to the breeding barn, Private Life. Don't know what to do with Public Attention, whether he'll get tipped out now or he'll head up to Brisbane, but he probably needs a mile. Gatsby's is Gatsby's, not much good old Gatsby's, and I don't know why Agenda Setter was in this race when it could be in a Class 1 or whatever it's eligible for. I thought it was going well enough to win the right race, and this wasn't it. Thumb sound now. So yeah, they've just dashed up the straight. And Big Swinger back towards, arguably the wrong part of the track. He's done a good job. I think the third and fourth horses have it in class over the first two. They were just gifted the race, and this bloke's the one we don't really know where his bottom is, and he's strong through the line, so he can definitely head to Brisbane and be dangerous, or even back to Adelaide or something. I don't know where they'll go with him, but he's ready to probably peak next start, Big Swinger, which, you know, is probably dangerous. He's probably ready to go in definitely a race this strong, or something similar. So that was 1,200. I'd be surprised if 1,400 didn't pull him up. I don't know what he raced over last prep. He got to 1,400 last run before a spell. You usually forgive those against Kitogio, just a wow. So yeah, I think he can definitely get out to 1,400 without a drama. I think inferior. I think that was its birthday, Laney. Imperial Force. I don't think he's much better than that. I think that was his chance in life to win a Group 2. He was, you know, the weakest in the race apart from Agenda Setter last 200. Even though running second, you know, there was a few excuses for the beaten brigade. I think, you know, he could have easily run fifth, and I think he would run fifth in that race more often than he'd run second. So, yeah, I think he was definitely flattered, and that's as good as he can go. I missed the Tempted race. I'm glad that you're awake and I'm not, Paul. Because I definitely would not have gone back in time to have a look at the Tempted race. Yeah, in first watch of this race, I actually thought it was a really great ride to settle closer. I thought they probably went slower than they did. Tempo's pretty solid, you know, close enough to even time. And they get moving from the 800-meter mark and come home, you know, 5-6 above. So it wasn't as if she was working hard, but he definitely, I think, had her at least on the edge of her comfort zone, riding her forward. There was a little bit of messy racing up front, but still, she was just way too good. You know, the query was fifth, sixth up, whatever she is, sixth up into a prep. She's had grand finals galore. She's had hard racing. She's continued to just keep holding that form. Obviously, you got to think that James Cummings is definitely on the conservative side when it comes to looking after his horses. So the horse wouldn't have been here if it was at its best, but they don't really know what the horse is going to, you know, still having in the tank until it gets to the races. So, you know, she's just a real quality filly. She's nothing to look at, I wouldn't say. You know, nothing stand out. She's just a real bulldog that keeps showing up. And, you know, arguably could have finished closer in pretty much every race. She didn't win this prep. Savvy Halley was in the right place, within the laws in the right place. Sequista was really solid first up. Inkaruna was a little bit disappointing, I thought, even though it was sort of forced back to the wrong part. Military Tycoon had its chance. I didn't think there were too many surprises here or excuses. The best horse definitely probably won the race. Inkaruna maybe you could make some excuses for, but I thought she sort of had a chance. She nearly begins on the back foot, Tempted, and he was really positive with her. Wooten Lass was slow out. Tyler tries to slot in on Sequista. I don't know why he doesn't slot in. He sort of looks like he's got the room there, but maybe that, you know, length and a half or whatever it was, he was worried. So ends up 3 wide, ends up having to push forward, gives a little bit of cover to Tempted for a while there, but then she's exposed from that point on. So, you know, again, all honours with her. It didn't look a day that it was an advantage to sit up there, and they are not walking like the other races. They're definitely sort of running along at an even speed. It is a slightly slow tempo, but that's because she lifts the tempo late and runs fast sections. So, yeah, definitely best horse wins. Inkaruna back to the inside here. Within the law, looked like its wheels were spinning a little bit and sort of got going late. I think she'll probably go for a break, you'd have to imagine. Definitely interesting sort of going forward. You know, she looks a real 2-year-old. Will she come on as a 3-year-old? I'd be surprised if she improves as a 3-year-old. If she does, she'll be a weapon. Savvy Halley's what you see is what you get. I think she's probably a length or two below the good horses. I think that's what we've seen there. Military Tycoon, I don't think had the best prep coming into sort of Golden Slipper, so she's definitely a horse that can probably come on next prep. I think she's got some upside in her, as does Inkaruna. Within the laws, you know, super honest. Whether she can improve or not, you know, I don't know. But Sequista has definitely got some good upside. I think Tyler's comments after the race that she's probably more a one-paced, or not one-paced, a horse that'll be better when she can dominate over sort of 1,400 metres. I thought that was interesting to hear, and I kind of agree. And if she does that, I think she's probably a dangerous horse heading up to Brisbane. She's, yeah, like I never shirked a task there, beaten by sort of race-fit horses that have sort of measured up in good form races. You know, Golden Slipper, this horse sort of split or sat just behind Mahuna and attempted last time. So all this form fits in with, you know, top line Golden Slipper-ish form. So yeah, Sequista's probably the one that can head to Brisbane and be very dangerous in a, you know, another probably 1,200 or 1,400 metres in 2 starts. Best 2-year-old number of the year. That's interesting. Yeah, well, it was. I agree with you, Close Streaker, that in hindsight the price was probably good, especially 370 or whatever she got out to on Betfair. Yeah, it was highly likely she was going to sort of be back and face a task. They were going to control the speed. So, you know, watching those first couple of races, it was hard to sort of work out how hard it was to run on, because it did look like it was difficult to make ground wide. She didn't get too far back, which was probably the key, but, you know, she was dominant as well. She just had a bit on them, I think. And I actually thought Inkaruna would run a more impressive race, whether it was not at her best, whether she's in the wrong part, whether she's just not that good. Hard to sort of work it out. She didn't get a chance to get to the right part, for sure. But hard to argue the right horse didn't win the race. Already done race 5. Now I know why Paul wanted to talk about that race, because he's got it marked as his best 2-year-old race of the season, and that's probably another tick in the box of Sequista when she heads up north, which I'm sure she will. That stables horse is going really well too at the moment. I think the Gerald Ryan, Sterling Alexio camp, so easy to find their horses with a little bit of confidence here. This was nearly the best ride in the history of the world from Alicia Collett. What would you call it? Or the greatest stealing of a race, or whatever you want to. I don't know how you want to frame this up. But yeah, you could see halfway around they were just literally could have got off and run alongside their horses. I just couldn't believe that they didn't go out with a plan to lead on Treasure of the Moment. Like, you've got clearly the most dominant filly in the race. All the dangers are drawn wide, apart from, you know, I didn't think it was a danger, but if it was the danger, it was drawn 1 anyway. So it was always going to track you. There's nothing you could do about the New Zealand horse. But sort of Verona Rose, Belle de Tel, they were the horses that looked most dangerous. And they were always going to get back. Sun and Sand and Yu Wang came out of that same slowly run 2,000-metre race last week. And I think he fell into the trap of thinking they weren't dangerous and sort of was worried about the horse behind. But the best thing he could have done was take advantage of the gate and the horse's gate speed and natural ability to just lead. If something wanted to go too fast, let it go. But to just grab hold and ride the horse off speed, I thought was one of the weirdest decisions I've seen for a while. Like, they're not going quick. It was no, you know, I don't really understand what the play was here, grabbing hold so aggressively. You can see he's really dragging the horse back off the speed here. It's so much so that the horse that drew 1 and was trying to trail him gets flushed out 3 wide, and then somehow they let J-Mac back in and end up back on the backside of is it J-Mac? No, yeah, it was. Somehow let it back in. I thought that was pretty funny. That Belle de Tel, whether he pushes him back here, Belle de Tel's clearly one off outside Yu Wang, and look at it. The jockey doesn't want to go in there, and J-Mac just goes, "Oh well, you may not want to go there, but you're going there, son." Is there anything in the steward's report about that? Post-race special report, nothing. No. Passing the 1900 got its head up and commenced to overrace due to the slow tempo. What? Just looking at that, you think that would have made the steward's report. It's hard to tell. That's one to have a look at the probably head-on vision, but to me it looked like J-Mac sort of forced him to the fence anyway. Yeah, so they're just going so slow that the leader's like having a look at the way the horse, it's literally a trial speed. So Yeah, a complete joke. And again, like, why not let the horse slide and just end up outside leader at this point? I don't. He just rode a pretty race, and it looked to me like he was playing percentages that he was just going to out sprint everybody. How many times did he hit the horse? 20? 20 times in totality, 10 prior to the 100. To cop a 10 grand fine and a 2-week holiday. She does a really good job, really, to pick them up because they do run home in quite fast time. Like a Lucy probably went better than I thought she would. Verona Rose will make a horse next prep. Bell to Tell, same thing. I doubt these horses will press on, surely. Not maybe Sun and Sand and Yu Wang will head up to Brisbane. Maybe. Why not? I guess while they're in form, you would say that they're the winner's done its job, and interesting to see what they sort of line up at. I think they'll keep her around the 2,000 metre mark. I don't think they'll be in a hurry to head to a Caulfield Cup or anything like that. Even though she's won a couple of times now, she definitely looks like a horse. It's probably, I don't know, I'd say she's a mile or to mile at this point. One off fast and slow tempos out to a further distance, so it's hard to say that she's not doesn't run 2,000 out strong. That's for sure, but she definitely looks like a miler to me. I'm interested to see where she ends up. Like a Lucy runs the fastest last 800 of the day, which you're going to do when you go out 30 lengths low to the 800 metre mark, 600 metre mark, and come home 10 above. So, just a literal joke of a race. Verona Rose run the third fastest last 800 of the day. And, Chips were completely out for it. 31st fastest last 200 of the day and ran the third fastest last 800. So you can imagine sort of the splits from the 8 to the 2 for Verona Rose. And who else is there? Bell and like a Lucy's run, super fast from the 800 as well. Fastest last 800, fastest 8 2 to the 2. So maybe it was a little bit unlucky not to hold a more forward spot as well. I think she'll get it. I think she'll get a Group 1. I definitely, I would say Alicia Collett's a better rider than plenty of light riders that have won Group 1. So I would be shocked if she goes to retirement without a Group 1. Yeah, they may push on with her, but she's sort of first prep, but she's not had a hard prep, has she? She's sort of so the last run was a fast run race. Yeah, I don't know what they do. Well, she's second prep, isn't she, Verona Rose? She had a win last prep and then come back this time in. Yeah, she's only had 4 runs this time in. 89-day break between first and second start. It'd be tempting, wouldn't it? It'd be tempting to sort of, while these horses are up and running, Sun and Sand, Yu Wang, Verona Rose, even sort of Ella Hazel, they're sort of fresh enough legs to head to definitely a South Australian Oaks. Impossible to line up what sort of quality that race is, just literally impossible. But you do have good markers there with the New Zealand Oaks winner and obviously Treasure of the Moment there holding the form. It's just you can't treat it as a staying race, I don't think. Like, there's no way in the world. That proves that Sun and Sand's going to run a strong 2,400 would be my argument, and same with Yu Wang. I thought they both levelled out pretty heavily at the back end of a sit and sprint 2,000 last start. So, I wouldn't be using this as a rubber stamp gold star that these horses all run a strong 2,400. The second time that Treasure of the Moment's won the Oaks off the back of a slow tempo. Sydney Cup, we got an absolute lawnmower run from poor old Alicante. She was just cooked and produced the old lawnmower, set up a fast tempo. As I said, as to the benchmark, they've gone 40 lengths above to the 800 and the 600, and they've come home slightly above standard, running 41 above. So, they've run a track record. Time's fast. Yeah, working out the quality of the race, it definitely, doesn't suggest that this is the greatest 3,200 metre race that was ever run. Just the tempo set up a fast time, and Arapaho's won by 3. Waltham a little bit unlucky, deserved to run second. River the Stars has sat up on the fast speed and run third. Its effort was really good. Let's have a look at the others. What's this horse here? He's run the fastest 8 to the 6 and 8 to the 4 of the day. Is it? Who's that? Don't tell me it's Strathtay. Strathtay's run the fastest last 8 to the 6 and 8 to the 4 of the day. Why has this horse got to do these things to suck me in? Next preparation. Why does it have to do these things? Just when I thought, well, it was, it went okay, but it has to do things like that. Definitely got something. I think Aliana probably would have won. Whether he regrets not doing it, I don't think Chris Waller regrets too much. He sort of gets a lot of opportunities, does he? Looking at the wrong race. The wrong race. First leg of the quaddie with Jackpot today. Lostotchka goes 20 and the gates are back now and they're off and racing. So Alicante sort of half misses it and then Timmy has to drive her forward. Arapaho is in front. So in agreement with who said it earlier, what Rachel does well is allow the horse to sort of find its feet, find a position early, which she does, and then the tempo of the race dictates that she sits a little bit further back and she lets the race go away from her. So whereas, in other times she may have been hell-bent on holding a spot, third the fence, whatever, she does a good job to just let the horse relax and end up, a pair or two further back rather than riding a perfect race on it. What people would call a perfect race, sort of one out, one back. She just settles that, lets the horse settle the extra pair further back. Still close to a fast tempo, so the horse has still done a great job, but she did well not to fall for the old 3-card trick and hold a spot, that pair or two closer just for the sake of it. I think that Circle of Fire that's caught out wide there and working. Sorry, though, I get that wrong again. That was Warmonger. Athabascan's further back. Waltham comes from last and sort of copped a few checks and did a few things wrong. This is Waltham back here. So his effort was good. He's obviously just an out-and-out stayer. His win up in the Gold Coast was great. This is a horse that, to me, could definitely run well in a Melbourne Cup, Waltham. I think he's a little bit more adaptable. I think he likes wet tracks. I think he's a sneaky good horse, old Waltham. He's a bit of an enigma, but I like him. And Strathtay's back with him. So the horse outside the leader, River of Stars, is probably the run of the race apart from the winner. Strathtay tries to come through the middle here. So this is where he's actually running fast sections, 6, 8 to the 4, and then he just runs straight into a dead end here. And that's pretty much where he sort of gives up a little bit. Didn't hit the line super strong. Second from the outside, Strathtay. Waltham's in the middle here, cutting sort of back and forward, trying to find runs. Now, and as I should have said, even though the tempo is extremely fast, they're not slowing down in relation to sort of how they should finish off a race. So it is an extraordinarily fast tempo, but they're not going slow coming home. So his effort's very good. And Strathtay, they've just got to put a different rider on it. Just for peace of mind, you've just got to put a different rider on the horse. Crikey. Yeah, I think this horse, I don't know much about it, River of Stars. What's it got? It's definitely, deserved to be right up there in Melbourne Cup sort of standings, considering it's lobbed here, 178 between runs, and ran in that against sort of Dubai Honour the other day. It went okay, sort of set that slow tempo in front, didn't it, and then got out sprinted. What wasn't that slower tempo? An even sort of tempo and got out sprinted. over the 2400. Definitely looks an out and out stayer. So I don't know if it will get into the Melbourne Cup. What did it carry here? 52. There's not much around. So, you know, if it gets to it's a horse to sort of keep a strong eye on for sure, heading towards the Melbourne Cup. And obviously a Rappo will be there, but it's probably the one that I'd be most interested in out of the race heading to the spring. Alicant's a complete forgive, but you know, she definitely didn't tick the 3,200 metre box. That's for sure. And the same trainer can Strathday, the hook. Strathday till he nosebleeds. Yeah, good. Yeah, but like we were saying, Paul, there about Matthew Smith, he does seem to handle these sorts of horses okay. Maybe they don't win as many races as they probably should. He's definitely a bit negative on them. Another one that struggles to find the right rider and tactics sometimes. But, you know, these stays seem to find a way. He's only a 5-year-old gelding, so, you know, he's definitely not at his bottom yet. Interesting horse. Like, he's only had 3 runs last prep, and he's, you know, 4th up into this race here. So he's definitely a horse that's super interesting heading towards, you would say, the Melbourne Cup if it can get a start. Jeffrey, not bad. Boss, not bad, not bad. River Star's excellent second up, and I was giving that tempo huge. Agree, Posty. Agree. He's it's definitely the horse to follow out of the race. This race joked whether this horse would reproduce something like what it did in the Cox Plate, and it was obviously very different visually, but I think its effort was still insanely good because it just never looked comfortable the whole race. The whole race was pretty ugly. There were a few horses that didn't fire. They did run the race at a really strong tempo, sort of 12 above, come home slightly below. The time's still quick, obviously, but yeah, it was weird. Buckaroo just completely knocked up, I think. There was nothing in the steward's report. I actually thought it might have had a bleed the way it stopped. It dead set looked like it was going to win. And listening to Tommy after the races, those post-race interviews are great just to be able to, you know, sort of gauge the true feelings of the jockey candidly after the race. And I agree. He looked the winner on the turn to me and, you know, looked a certainty to run a place. And then it was just falling in a hole late. He just completely, I don't know whether he didn't have a flawless prep coming into this or whether they actively, you know, sort of wanted to get him up to Brisbane and the sort of middle distance weight for age races up there where he's target, because he just must have been completely underdone here. Just completely knocks up when in the last 200 metres and did cop a little bit of interference, but I don't think that's why the horse was so tired late. I just think he was underdone off the back of a seriously fast testing tempo in a strong race. I think he's probably just a run or two shy of his peak. So she obviously gets back that little bit further than McDonald would have wanted to. Never looks comfortable the whole race. You know, Buckaroo's outside of the whole race. Light Infantry Man ridden a lot closer off a fast tempo, off the back of a fast tempo. He was probably disappointing, but entitled to be. Faulkner Park was back in the spot probably where you wanted to be with Vauban. They were a little bit disappointing. Chael Wolf being taken right back, I thought was an interesting play. Probably the best thing that they could have done given the tempo. And he runs okay, runs 5th. Lindemann up on speed. He's actually quite keen, so his effort's good to hold on for 4th. Tom Kitten was a little bit keen too, and his effort again to run 3rd. He's definitely would you call him a weight for age star? He's definitely a weight for age star of the future. If these mares drop off, I think he's going to be certainly the horse that's you know, got a bit more life in his legs compared to most of these, and he's a little bit more adaptable where it comes to sort of tempos and things. His effort was good. Dubai Honor was super again. He's a very, very good horse. Here's Buckaroo steaming through the middle in the white cap here, and I did get excited personally when he sort of got this gap. I thought it was nearly not game over, but he had all the position over via Sistina, who's back behind him, and looked like he was just going to burst through. And she's sort of trying to track him through and ends up having to balk and go back towards the inside. So, yeah, he nearly looks the winner even to this point, Buckaroo. And then, you know, when she gets through, she's just way too strong late. Wolf down the outside. The Japanese horse Roshan Park was okay. Faulkner Park was okay. He does get chopped out a bit there, but then sort of gives up Buckaroo, which is a sign of a tired horse for me. But yes, strong race. She's just way too good. You know, I don't know what this thing is where she peaks, but she definitely runs through the line super strong. Whether we get to see her again in the spring will be interesting. You know, it'd be very tempting to sort of go again, you'd think, because she's so dominant. She's got the Cox Plate again at her mercy. I can't see too much popping up that's going to, you know, really trouble her too much if she shows up in this sort of form again. Yeah, Jubona, no knock on any of these horses' runs. They're all great. Different stages of preps, different class barriers. Faulkner Park could probably head up to Brisbane if they wanted to push on with him and do some damage as well. So, you know, interesting. Okay, it's like they don't want to win. Oh, he's been very good since he's been here, Moscow. Like, he was very good first up. It was just really strange placement. That it's like it's like he was so, you know, it's very strange. He had the 2 trials, and then even to give him a trial in between first and second up, it was like something went wrong, and he was maybe, you know, only a fortnight behind, which is just so hard to come back off when you're in this grade. Like, he was great over the spring. He was, you know, super first up, just given a complete barrier trial, then ridden forward and won second up, beating, you know, average horses there. The jury was kind of out. Then he came and gapped him off a fast tempo at Caulfield, ran very well behind via Sistina, and then, you know, enormous in the Caulfield Cup. And then ran, you know, well. You know, he beat 3.5 in the Melbourne Cup. So his form since he's been here has been first class, and it just felt like they were behind the 8 ball. You know, I don't know if that's true or not. It just felt like that. And, you know, for him to be running the 4th fastest to the 200 of the day makes sense why he could potentially peak second up. You know, I hope they look after him, but it sounded like post-race that he was heading to Brisbane, from what Tommy Berry was saying. Clean Energy. Autumn Glow just confirmed outspelling. Wow. Wow. So the temperature must have... Vauban will spell, I would imagine. I think that they were... actually, I want to have another look at what Vauban did then, but I think they'll put him away and have him ready for the Melbourne Cup and the Melbourne Cup alone. That'll be their target with him, to get Vauban there in one piece. Obviously gets beat 10 lengths, so something wasn't right with him. Yeah, definitely not the same horse. So they'll put him away and just let him come back for the spring. Sort of works home all right, doesn't he? It's not as if he's completely cactus. I think they were very concerned about running him in the Sydney Cup for whatever reason, and oh, hasn't she been? I think we worked out the other day she's won about 13 million since she's come out here. So, yeah, it's turned out to be a shrewd purchase, and she's probably got either more money or yearlings that are going to sell for quad billions when she drops them. Yeah, they probably won't sell them anyway, will they? Now, did you say they bought Vinrock? Strange things going on. Lilac's third favourite. You're getting me excited first. You're going early on me. I'll have a look at that in a sec. Queen of the Turf. We'll get through these 2 races. Yeah, she looked in all sorts of trouble here. Softish tempo. They don't come home super quick, but they still, you know, it's still a soft tempo, if anything. On the day, it's not any, you know, super sharp late fractions, but the winners come home sort of 10 or 11 above the last 800 metres. So, you know, she's done a great job, out-sprinted them, does what she does. That fast tempo that was potentially there from Grinzinger Bell didn't eventuate, but she was still in a sticky spot and certainly overcame it. There were... Amelia's Jewel was retired straight after the race, did note that. So Tissue straight out the back, Fangirl back with it. I was hoping a Tissue could hold a more forward spot. Not sort of suggesting there was anything untoward there, but I felt like Nash was happy to run second. Not that he could have done much more. It's just, they both sort of had to go back towards that inside section. Steffi Magnetica rode for a bit of luck and gave that run back to the horses that went back to the inside. Would she have won if she took that run? I don't know. But once again, old McDonald pulled their pants down. I tell you, watching that replay, you're probably entitled to be a bit sick on Steffi. It's just hard to sort of... He settled 4 in front of him in the run, and then he's the strongest late. So it's one of those tricky ones where this horse has exerted so much energy sprinting hard from the 600-metre mark that it's entitled to be dead on the line. You know what she's like. She's got a really sharp 600-metre turn of foot. So it does flatter Steffi Magnetica a little bit late, I think, because she's definitely out of carrots and Steffi was sort of coiled up for a bit longer and sprinting harder late. So, I'm not going to say she was a certainty beat. That's for sure, Steffi Magnetica, but you've definitely got a case to argue that she should have been right there, because she definitely could have had the run that the winner and the second horse or third horse got. Yeah, I agree. He gave us I agree that he gave J-Mac plenty of room. Yeah, definitely a smart sell, Vinrock. Absolutely a smart sell. He might end up a nice horse, but he's definitely ready to sell. Yeah, she's a funny one, Steffi. And I thought she was in the wilderness before last start. And even last start, that race was so messy, it was hard to really think, is she back? She's back. So she's definitely back. Steffi and Björn again. Geez, he can pull one out of the fire, can't he? That was one of the best rides that night first. That was one of Damien Lane's better rides of his career. And did that empty her out? I don't know. She's never been the same horse since. She's obviously won a race or two since, but she's never been the same horse since. She only won one more race, and it was an absolute gimme. Whether that gutted her, because she never ran... Like, that was her peak figure ever, and she ran 2 peak figures, one first and second up that prep, and then never repeated it. She got close, but never the same horse. Whether that run chasing Pride of Jenny that night gutted her, but they didn't go crazy quick. That was sort of right on the tip of when Pride of Jenny started setting fast speeds. Yeah, I think, well, they won't push on with Steffi, will they? Surely, you wouldn't think. Sort of the race played out completely as it appeared on paper. They had a monster class edge over the rest, and they exerted that. This horse was good to me, but the win was probably better than what it looked in first sight. Whether it did get to the right part and the other stayed in the wrong part or not sure. But she can really rattle off some, fast late 600 metres. I thought she'd have to be ridden, 1 out, 1 back, 1 out, 2 back, get a run through late and pinch. I didn't see her circling the field and coming off the back of Commemorative and running him down. So I think the win was good. I think the horse is a very good horse, a very underrated horse. Infancy. She loves, these big open tracks like Randwick. I don't think she's a tight turning track horse. She's going to be dangerous. Like, would she be a Stradbroke horse? That's a big call. I'll have a look and see if she runs 1,400 metres. I don't think she does. Memory, but she might. Yeah, so Alentia, yeah, maybe just a product of Fangirl and a Tissue heading back towards the inside. They sort of fell for the old 3-card trick, but Lady Laguna definitely stays back towards the inside. Coco Jambu goes back there. Tashi was, I think, with the blinkers, was set up to peak. It's hard to argue the best horse didn't win for mine. Giving them a start and a beating. Maybe she's in slightly better ground. Maybe she comes off the back of a hard fit horse and goes past it, and she's like clearly strongest late. Very good win. Zazu was good. Does that bring the form back? Not sure. Is Alentia a betting proposition ever again in its life? Not sure. I did expect Q's likely to improve. It went okay. Skirt the Law looks like it's very close to retirement for mine. Actually would be surprised if we ever saw her again. She may go up to Brisbane and have one more go. But yeah, Lady Laguna's going okay. Commemorative's a good horse, but I think a slightly overrated horse. Not much between these mares. And again, if I could own one, it'd probably be Infancy. So she hasn't been tested past 1,300. She's won at 1,200 metres, obviously open 2-year-old. She's won 1,100. Last prep, I just remember she was just unlucky, getting in awkward spots. Slow tempo. Very unlucky. So she's a good horse. Maybe 1,200 metres is a sweet spot. Pat's Tiara for Steffi, yeah. Tashi, they butchered her last prep. They just completely butchered her last prep. They just kept going on with it. They kept putting sherry on it. He kept doing terrible things. But she was absolutely flying early, and then she lost the plot sort of through here, this 28 days, 7 weeks, and they sort of gave her those, they kept trying to revive her, and she wasn't at her best. And then this prep just sort of gave her 2 grounding runs and then put the blinkers off, blinkers back on this time, trial in between. I think that was as good as she can go. 1,400 back to 1,200, I think was ideal for her as well. She's no world beater. She definitely needs things to go her way. And, you know, a jockey in a barrier would probably make her a little bit more dangerous. Yeah, I don't... Coco Jambu was pretty good there up the inside, I thought, too. She could go up to Brisbane and be dangerous in a mares race. Where are these races first talking about? You're not first, you're last. All Age Stakes, Champagne Stakes, Frank Packer, James Carr. Is that the race you're talking about? Hallmark Stakes. So she was in there as well, right? Clean Energy. So into 220. That's what you're saying. That's the race. Tab's gone. Yeah, that's right. Snow in May's only just going. Zaitung's interesting, been given 2 barrier trials, but I don't think she's a superstar either. More Territory's only just going. Dane Commander trialled like a rocket. It would interest me, Dane Commander at odds. Alabama Fox is a horse on the way up. It's out of Fox play, isn't it? It's a good horse. You wouldn't think it'd back up. This race? No. They taking it down now? I think you've killed it. I think you've killed it. The old first race killer. Why do I keep clicking on the Hallmark Stakes? They pulled it too. Here it is, Hallmark. Why do I... They've pulled it as well, have they? Yeah, they've pulled it as well. JHB car. Where was that race now that I'm... The All Age Stakes, Briasa, $3.50. Holy shit. Give me Star broadsiding. What a race this is going to be. Goldie Star. Mochi and Tino first up. Time, Sunshine in Paris. There's no real holes in that market, is there? They're all... There's no rain forecast, is there? Enough to keep the water off it, hopefully. Enough to keep the irrigation away. Nepotism $2.50. Jesus Christ, that's short. Buffalo $5. Within the law $6. Jesus Christ, state visit. Oh my God, hasn't that race just fallen to pieces? I actually thought Federalist had come up shorter. Horrible. Good horse, Belclair. I would imagine that first up 1400 would be diabolical. The reason why it's a good horse, but trying to beat these stalkers. Usually, I like sort of horses like that when they can get away with a race. It's when other horses are queries at the distance, and it might lead all their stayers that are not going to be able to sprint. But when you've got really dangerous stalkers, it's hard to lead and win. But as I said, 33-1. I'm not going to knock her. I think she's a great horse. But most of these horses, Briassa, Broadsiding's capable of sitting close, Jolie Star, Komochi, they're all going to sit close to the speed. So it's not as if she's going to get away with it, if you know what I mean. But I'm definitely not saying she can't run a race at that price. And it does look like there's not a lot of competition for the actual lead. There's a lot of stalkers, but there's nothing there that wants to lead. So, I think it's a good thought. And he's obviously in the right, she's obviously in the right stable. Frank Packer plate, the old Swift Falcon. Plymouth coming back off the Derby. I don't want to take even money, but it looks extraordinarily well placed. Why is Miss Alexis there? It got scratched from the Phillies race the other day. That's an interesting one. Mason Louis, they're way up in grade. Mason Louis, Sigria Rock was okay the other day. Geez, the old Falcon. If you can't win that race, he's up against it. And what was the one that I clicked on my race 37 times? Hallmark Stakes. Yeah, well, there's not much there. General Salutes, obviously flying. Dragonstone. Better be a Lady Laguna. Not much there. So yeah, I think I'll first had the right idea. Churchill's Choice, isn't that Nathan Doyle's horse? I'm sure this horse trialled like a rocket against a horse that was hard fit, Dame Commander. What's she done? Jeez. She won a maiden at Kembla, then and ran well in a Group 2 behind Prost. She trialled well here the other day.
One just bobbing about Kundabung. Wader. Taxonomy is going. Taxonomy goes on with the job and led the way by 2 Dame Commander. Banksy striding up on the outside. Dame Commander.
This is not it.
Down inside the 100-meter mark now.
It is. It's Meridiana.
Coming home well, Dame Commander. It's Meridiana. Dame Commander flashing through late, and Dame Commander. Nice trial.
Both those horses trial really well. Thunderbung, and then what did he come out and do? Thunderbung came out and ran second. That thing, Damien, that went like a rocket up in whatever. Given none. Might probably want further Dame Commander, but one to keep an eye on. I think it's got a short sprint. I think it was terrible tactics. It's a dangerous horse if it can run further. Meridiana, it's dangerous. I don't think it'll sustain a run for a long while, but if it can run further, it's dangerous. It's got a super turn of foot. And I agree with you. Whether it wants shorter or not, I think it's a horse that potentially could run further and still have the turn of foot, if that makes sense. You got to temper it. Probably one of the horses I'd like to, out of the whole prep meeting. It's probably one of the horses I'd love to have hold of get hold of. All right, guys. Thanks first for ducking in and giving a bit of info, and thank you everyone for coming along. No clue what I'll do this week. No clue if we'll find anyone to love us. Yeah, didn't it? We won at like Musselbrook or somewhere like that, and then came out and won again. Is that the horse Churchill? Sleep. I had 6 minutes sleep before I came on here, and about 13 kilos worth of pre-workout. So I may never sleep again, but we'll see what happens. Cheers, guys. See you later in the week. I'll let you know what I'm doing. Hopefully, we find someone to bet with because always tricky. Mate, first, you can't talk about sleep, mate. I see you posting about goddamn. I came from back in the field. I think Rachel wrote it. Yeah, it's got some ability, Paul. I remember the horse. It actually sort of outperformed. Cheers, James. All right, all the best. I'm running away. All right, keep talking. 2 a.m. Yeah, that's you. 2 a.m. UK races. See you, Moscow.